Hi, my name is Louise Lippett. I am 88 years old, and I've lived in Omaha all my life. I married Reuben Lippett, and we had two children, Mark Lippett and Sharon Lippett. Sharon Lippett lives in New York now, and Mark lives in Omaha. I got married in 19, what year? Anyhow, the 1900s. And when we first got married, Reuben came home from the service, and the last thing in the world that he wanted, his parents had a grocery store, and he tried to get a job and he couldn't get a job. And the last thing in the world he wanted to do was go in the grocery business. However, they did have a liquor license in that grocery store on 25th and Davenport. So Reuben decided he would try to increase the liquor business, because in the grocery store was just
sideline
that would to accommodate the customers, because they didn't dwell on the liquor at all. So when Reuben came home and we were married, I sent out postcards to practically every resident in Omaha, telling about Lippett's Bottle Shop, and that he was going to carry a complete line of liquor and wines, and the hours of the store and all, and encouraged them to come to see the store, which they did, and thank God we ended up with after that, in those years, a grocery store could not sell liquor. So Hinky Dinky, which was on 72nd and Dodge, were going to open up a separate liquor store, and they wanted somebody to run the liquor store. And they interviewed many liquor dealers, but they did choose Reuben to open up the liquor store on 72nd and Dodge. And also, the way I look at it, timing has got a lot to do with your life. And at that time, Summers store was closing up, and they had a liquor department in Summers store. So the lady who worked for Summers was Belle Horwich, and she was 69 years old, and she was going to retire at 70, but she was quite a gal, and she had a list of all the so-called society people in Omaha, of what the liquor they drank, the after-dinner drinks, everything. She had a list of all of those, and she gave them to Reuben, and we, in turn, contacted all these people and told them that we were taking over the liquor department, and we would accommodate them as much as we could. So we did have the liquor store on 72nd and Dodge. We had a lease for 10 years, so we were there for 10 years, and after the 10 years, we were ready to retire, but we sold our liquor store to my cousin Norman Rothman, and he took over. What else?
Tell me a little bit about your parents.
Okay, my parents were both born in Russia and got married, and were married over 50 years. And I had a brother, Ben Wintrobe, and just the two of us in our family. And my dad was in the grocery business, and Reuben's parents were also in the grocery business, but Reuben's parents did have a liquor license, so that was how we were able to expand and get and open up a liquor store. And
where was your parents' grocery store located?
First we had a grocery store on 13th and Arbor, and then they had a grocery store out north someplace. I can't even remember the exact location. What else I want to tell you?
I want to hear about your mother and dad. Tell me the kind of people they were.
well, need I say, they were great people. They were a typical Jewish family. They raised two children, myself and my brother Ben Wintrobe. And Benny was bar mitzvah, and I was, no, I was not. Yes, I was no, I wasn't. My daughter was bat mitzvah. In those years, girls were not bat mitzvah. And we lived a normal Jewish life. I kept kosher. My parents did, and I did too. And
What was your dad's first name?
Nathan.
And your mother?
Nathan Wintrobe and Clara Wintrobe. And my brother was Ben Wintrobe. Did you know my brother? And what else? What else can I tell you?
What do you remember about holidays growing up? Jewish holidays?
Oh, growing up, first thing I had a complete new outfit from underpants up to the clothes, and then we would walk from synagogue to synagogue, and the biggest thrill if the boys would shoot paper wads on our legs. We were in if they would do that, and we would stand out in front of the synagogue until they shoot us inside. And I would sit with, and in those years the women sat upstairs and the men sat downstairs. So I would sit upstairs with my mother and sit there, and the women would talk upstairs, and sometimes the men would yell upstairs, "Be quiet." And it was just fun going to the synagogue and having the boys shoot paper wads at your legs. And
What synagogue did you belong to then?
we belonged to a synagogue on 25th and Seward. I can't remember the name of it. My Zeta was a president there, and that's where I grew up, at that synagogue.
What was your Zeta's name?
Moishe Wintrobe. And then we would spend the holidays with my grandparents, and every Saturday night we would go over to my grandparents to eat. And then on Sunday, my aunt and uncle who lived in Council Bluffs would be over my grandparents to eat. But my grandmother always made something special on Sunday for them that we didn't get. But that was okay. My grandparents were great. And we went to every Seder, every holiday, we were over at my grandparents' house. And we used to shlug kapuras, you know what that is? The chicken over your head. I remember that. And what else do I remember? What else do you want to ask me, Benny?
That little synagogue on 25th and Seward.
Uh-huh.
What are your memories of that?
Oh, it was great. We, the men sat downstairs and women upstairs, and the men would yell up to the women to be quiet. They would be talking all the time. And then I'd go up and sit with my mother, and naturally she would kind of show me off, you know. And yeah, it was, and then we would walk around from synagogue to synagogue, and I would be wearing new shoes, and oh boy, did my feet hurt before I got home. In fact, I walked home without my shoes half of the way. The shoes hurt so much. And
Where did you live then?
we had a grocery store. My parents bought a grocery store on 13th and Arbor, and we lived upstairs from the grocery store for many years. And then they bought a house on 58th and Hickory, and then we moved into the house on 58th and Hickory.
What schools did you go to, Louise, when you first started?
Well, I went to, grade school I went to was Castellar, and then I went to Central, and then I went for 1 year to Omaha U. And and then I took, just for kicks, I took a civil service examination with another friend of mine, and lo and behold, I passed the examination, and I got a job in Washington, D.C. So I moved out to Washington, D.C. with this friend, but my sister-in-law's sister also, my sister-in-law's sister lived in Washington, so we lived with her. She had a big apartment, so we lived with my sister-in-law's sister for a year, and then I must have put on about 50 pounds when I lived there. My parents sent food, and her parents sent food, and then after the year, I decided to come home, and I was 2-ton Tessie. And I don't know where I found this couple. They were doctors, and they gave me diet pills, and I took off the weight, and thank the Lord, never put it back on. And a cousin of mine, Sarah Finkel was her name, fixed me up with a date with Reuben, and and he came, picked me up, and he was smoking a cigar, so I thought, ugh, I don't want to go out with him again. He smokes cigars. But he did call me again, and I did go out with him, and I let him know I didn't like the cigars, so he got rid of them. So we were happily married for over 50 years, and we had a great life. We traveled a lot.
Did you meet Reuben after the war?
After the war, right. Yes, he was in the service. He enlisted. He was just graduating college, and he knew he was going to be drafted, so he enlisted. So he went in as a first lieutenant. And then somebody fixed us up when he came home from the service. And we were married over 50 years and had 2 children, Mark Lippett and Sharon Lippett. And it was a very good marriage. I pitched in, and I helped him a little bit in the store. Not a lot. I didn't work in the grocery store, but I did help him in the liquor store when we were able to. There were several different liquor dealers that tried to get. Hinky Dinky was adding on a building, and for a liquor store, and every liquor dealer in Omaha wanted that location on 72nd and Dodge, which was a prime location in those years, and they gave the liquor store to Reuben, and we worked hard at it, but we had, and then at that time, Summers grocery store was closing up, and they had a liquor department, and a lady by the name of Belle Horwitz worked in the liquor department at Summers. And she was 69, and she was going to retire at 70. So every liquor dealer in Omaha wanted her to come work for them for 1 year, but she interviewed you. You didn't interview her, and she decided to come to work for Reuben, and we picked her up in the morning and brought her to the store and took her home at night. And she was able, and she told Reuben, I guarantee you all the customers will come to trade with you, but I can't guarantee you they'll stay with you. But thank God they all stayed with us, and we worked up. We had the largest liquor store in the state of Nebraska, and we did some traveling, and it was a good life. We had the 2 children, Mark Lippett and Sharon Lippett. And
Did you work a lot of hours in the liquor store?
Yes, we did. The store was open till 10 o'clock every night. We had help. Reuben didn't work every night, but Saturday nights we worked. And then we would go to, it wasn't Garage. There was a steakhouse on 72nd and Dodge, Ross's. We'd go to Ross's for dinner, and then we came home. And we worked hard, but we enjoyed it. And he built up a real good liquor business. And then we were ready to retire, and my aunt begged us to sell the store to my cousin. So we did, and we could have gotten money for the key to our store, meaning our business, but we didn't, but naturally the merchandise, we got penny for, so, and we were happy to turn it over to him, and unfortunately, he ran it down to nothing, but that was his business, not ours. And it was a good life while it lasted. And that was all there was to that.
What were your parents' first names?
My mother's name was Clara. Clara Cricksfield. And my father's name was Nathan Wintrobe.
And how about Reuben's parents?
Reuben's mother's name was Anna, and his father's name was Harry. My mother-in-law's maiden name was Bograd, Bograd, and then I had a sister-in-law, Martha Lippett Kellner. She moved to San Diego before she was married, and then married in San Diego and lived there the rest of her life. And with her husband, she married Dory Kellner, and they have a son, Norman Kellner.
Was this Reuben's sister?
Mm-hmm. And they live in San Diego. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law are dead, but the son, Norman, is alive, and we're in contact with him. We're very close with him. Unfortunately, he was not very close with his grandmother because she was too demanding. Mark, I love you with all my being, my heart and soul. And Sharon, I feel the same way about you. You both are the two greatest children a person could have or want, and I love you dearly. God bless you, and you should have a long, healthy, happy life.